Welcome to Unburied Remnants. The official narrative is just the surface. We dig into what's underneath. And we're just getting started. 217. That is the number of independent flood traditions, cataloged across cultures that had no contact with each other. 217 times, humanity told the same story. A golden age. Divine beings among us. Knowledge passed down. A catastrophe that erased it. Survivors who rebuilt. And a warning. Preserved in every language on earth, not similar stories, the same story. And that is what this finale is about. We've spent 11 episodes inside individual threads. Tonight, we pull them all together. And when you lay them side by side, something becomes impossible to ignore. Every culture, and I mean every culture, left us 5 things. A golden age. When divine beings walked among humans and knowledge flowed freely. A fall. Something went wrong. The knowledge became dangerous, or was withheld, or was suppressed. A catastrophe. Usually water, sometimes fire, always civilizational collapse. Survivors. A remnant who carried the knowledge forward, taught us and buried it somewhere safe. And a warning, encoded in myth, in monument, in text, waiting to be found. Sumer left us the Anunnaki, beings who descended and taught humanity the arts of civilization. Egypt left us the Neteru. Same structure, different names. Greece left us the Titans, cast down for giving humans what they weren't supposed to have. The Norse left us the Aesir. India left us the Devas. The Hebrews left us the Watchers. The same beings, the same story, on every continent. The question is what that means. In episode 1, we established that the Bible has older sources. The Sumerian Eridu Genesis predates Genesis by at least 1,000 years and tells the same story. In episode 2, we went inside the Hebrew texts themselves. Elohim is plural. The divine council is real. Psalm 82. God presides over an assembly of gods. This is not interpretation. This is the text. In episode 7, we found the Egyptian Neteru, a council of divine beings who preceded humanity, who taught the arts of civilization, who eventually withdrew. The structure is always the same. A hierarchy of divine beings, a senior figure, Anu, El, Ra, Odin, who presides. A council beneath him, beings who interact with humanity, beings who are eventually restricted from doing so, and always the knowledge transfer that shouldn't have happened. Enki shares the flood warning in Sumer. Prometheus gives fire in Greece. The Watchers teach metalwork and astronomy in Enoch. Thoth preserves knowledge in Egypt before the catastrophe. Every tradition has a figure who breaks the rules to preserve something. Every tradition punishes that figure. And every tradition suggests the knowledge. Survived anyway, encoded, hidden, waiting. In episode 8, part 1, we made the geological case. 12,800 years ago, something hit the Earth. The Younger Dryas impact. Ice cores confirm it. Sediment layers confirm it. The Carolina Bays confirm it. The Scablands confirm it. The ice sheets collapsed. Sea levels rose 120 meters. In geological terms, overnight. Entire coastlines vanished. Anything built near water went under. And then in episode 8, part 2, we went looking for what was lost. Dwarka, Gulf of Cambay, the Black Sea Basin, Yonaguni, Doggerland, the Cuban structures, government surveyed, ROV confirmed, physically documented, structures, underwater, at depths that only make sense if they were built before the sea level rise. 217 flood traditions don't remember a local flood. They remember this one, because this was the event. And here is what I find most striking. The Sumerian king list records kings who reigned before the flood for impossibly long periods. Then the flood sweeps over the earth, and after, the reigns shorten dramatically. To human scale, the text doesn't explain this. It just records it, as if the people who wrote it knew exactly what the flood had ended and exactly what kind of world came before it. This thread is the one that runs underneath everything else. In Episode 2, the Book of Enoch, the Watchers descended. They taught humanity things it wasn't supposed to know: metalworking, astronomy, herbalism, the movements of the stars. And for this, they were imprisoned. The knowledge itself was the transgression. In Episode 5, Göbekli Tepe, 11,600 years old, built before agriculture, by people who, according to everything we thought we knew, shouldn't have been capable of it, and then deliberately buried, intentionally filled in, preserved under the earth. Someone buried the evidence, on purpose. In Episode 11, the canon, Enoch excluded, Jubilees excluded. The Book of Giants from the Dead Sea Scrolls, excluded. A clear pattern of what stayed in and what came out. And what came out was consistently the material that described the divine beings most specifically. The material that named them. That described what they taught. That described the consequences. The pattern of removal is itself evidence. Because you don't suppress something that isn't threatening. You suppress it because it contradicts something you need people to believe. 3 independent acts of suppression, in archaeology, in religion, in text, all pointing at the same material. That is not coincidence. Here we are, 11 episodes, 5 content pillars, 1 question underneath all of it. I want to lay out the 3 honest possibilities, without pushing you toward any of them. Possibility 1. It's all mythology. The flood traditions converge because flood is a universal human experience. Rivers, storms, local events amplified through oral tradition. The divine councils are metaphor. The suppression is institutional conservatism, not conspiracy. The patterns are pattern-seeking, humans finding meaning in noise. This is the mainstream position. It has serious scholars behind it, and it deserves to be stated clearly. Possibility 2. There was a real civilizational collapse around 12,800 years ago that erased most of the evidence. The survivors encoded their knowledge in myth because that was the only medium that would survive. The divine council traditions preserve a real memory of a technologically advanced group of people or culture that the surviving population experienced as divine. The suppression is real, but motivated by politics, not metaphysics. This is the Graham-Hancock position broadly, also serious, also supported by evidence we've documented. Possibility 3. The texts mean what they say. The divine beings were real, the knowledge transfer was real, the suppression is ongoing, and the monuments, Göbekli Tepe, the underwater structures, the encoded myths, are not metaphor, they are a message. This is the position most mainstream scholars won't touch, but it is what the texts themselves claim. I'm not telling you which one is right. What I'm telling you is the evidence doesn't support dismissing any of them outright, and that is where Season 1 leaves us. Season 1 started with a question. Is the official narrative complete? 11 episodes later, the honest answer is no. We have geological evidence for a catastrophic event 12,000 years ago. We have underwater structures that shouldn't exist by current models. We have 217 independent traditions that remember the same event. We have suppressed texts that describe the same beings across cultures that had no contact. We have a pattern of institutional resistance to specific categories of evidence. None of that proves anything, but all of it together demands a better answer than we've been given. Season 2 goes deeper. We're moving from the stories to the evidence underneath the stories. Harder claims, more challenging to the official record. The Hermetic tradition, the Bronze Age collapse, the scribes who built the Bible, the library that burned, the rabbit hole, goes deeper. Next, Enki and Enlil, the original good god and bad god. Before Genesis, before the Bible, before Egypt, Sumer had already written the template. Two divine brothers, one who wanted to protect humanity, one who wanted to destroy it. Sound familiar? It should. If Season 1 gave you something to think about, share it. Leave a comment. Tell me where you land on the 3 possibilities. I read everyone. Thanks for watching Unburied Remnants. If you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. Stay curious. Keep digging. The rabbit hole goes deeper.